What's up guys, welcome to Built. Today is actually going to be a little bit weird because I started filming this video like 6 months ago and then I decided that I didn't think this was actually going to work, and so I stopped the project, and then I picked it up a couple days ago because I had to sell my wife's car and I wanted to see if it worked, and it totally did. So I want to show it to you. Check it out. Alright, so when we bought my wife's car 2 cars ago, she drives a Passat wagon now. She did drive a Honda Pilot, and we bought the car and started driving it home, and like every used car nightmare, the engine light came on our way home. And you know, I work on cars pretty often, and so I was like, you know what, babe, we'll worry about it when we get home. We'll figure it out, no big deal. And we got home and I looked it up. I looked up the code, and it was the code for the catalytic converter. I'm not sure what it is, but I'll post it right here or maybe over here. And that's what it told me. It told me I needed new catalytic converters. Well, we live in Alabama, and there's no point for catalytic converters in Alabama because we don't have smog regulations unless you just care about the environment. And I do, but not enough to buy a catalytic converter. So I didn't want to buy $300 cats. It said I needed 2 of them. And I'd heard that these O2 sensor spacers will take the code away. And so I decided to give it a shot. I figured it wasn't that crazy of an idea. And I think I got my spacers for like $6. I'll post the link of the ones that I used, but you can use any of them. Now, before I do any of this, if you have emissions laws, or if it's illegal to run without cats, or if it's illegal to lie to your O2 sensors, or anything else that I'm telling you to do is illegal, hey, don't do it. But if you live in Alabama, and I think Florida maybe, I don't know, check that, you can do this and it'll fix the code. So let's do it. All right, so what I did for the start was I had to find the O2 sensors. Now this is a Pilot, it's a V6, and it's transverse mounted, meaning it's sideways. And so one of the O2 sensors is like right there in your face when you get under the car. The other one is like as far away from your face as it could be, and it's really hard to get to. But I got to both of them without removing any parts, and I'm gonna show you how I did that. Now this will work really on most cars. Basically what it does is it takes the O2 sensor and pulls it away from the exhaust gases a little bit, and so the reading reads cleaner than it actually is. Now, when I took this to the dealership, they told me it needed a new O2 sensor. I don't know if that's the case or not, or if it was one of those things where it's like I bring it in, they give an O2 sensor, okay, the O2 sensor didn't fix it, okay, you need a catalytic converter, no worries, it's just $600. Also, we're gonna charge you $500 in labor, whatever. I would think if it was a bad O2 sensor, this wouldn't work, but maybe it does. So, I don't know, try it, let me know. If I did have a bad O2 sensor, it worked for me. But basically this spacer just gives your O2 sensor the idea that it's getting really clean air and it's not getting as clean of air as it could be getting. And then I had to go to AutoZone to get one of these, and I'll show you. Well, okay, let me rewind. I bought this off of Amazon. This is an O2 sensor removal socket. So it's a regular kind of looking deep well socket, but it's got this channel in it right there. That channel allows the O2 sensor wire to kind of sit up in there so you can get on top of the sensor. Now, the problem with this for my application, and probably most, is it's really big. So I didn't have a lot of space to work with. The front, I could see it, but there wasn't a lot of space. The back, you could barely see it, and there's still not a lot of space. And so this did not work for me, but I kept it because you never know. I got one of these. So this is the same thing, but it's a lot smaller, and it sets your, what's it called? What's the wrench called that we use? Socket. It sets your socket, kind of offsets it. Now, what that does for the Honda is it gives you enough space to be able to turn your ratchet and get them off. So the first one's very straightforward. This pops on, you unscrew it. The torque spec's only like 33 foot-pounds, so once you break it loose, it just screws out by hand. So the first one out, you can take your spacer, screw it in the same hole, tighten it down, and then screw your O2 sensor in and tighten it down as well, and you're done. The back one is a little bit of a different story just because you can't see it in this certain car, in this certain application. But what I've seen and what I've found with the cars that I've owned is most of the time there's at least one O2 sensor that's super hard to get to. I don't know why it's that way, but it just is. So with this back one, you actually have to use some extensions. I used a small 3-inch with a swivel joint and like a 6 or maybe a 10-inch extension with this on the end of that, and just had to play around with a bunch of different combinations, and finally got it to go. And so once it was on there, all you really need is like a quarter turn to break it loose. Eventually I got that. I had to put a lot of torque on it, but I got it. And then I ran it out the rest of the way by hand. Now I'm lucky, my hands aren't huge, so I could fit them up by the O2 sensor and run it out with my hand. But it was really tight and it was kind of painful. So if you can't then you'd have to run it off with the wrench, which is possible, but just not as easy. So once it was out, I fed the new spacer up into the spot where the O2 sensor was, same as the front, screwed it in, put the O2 sensor in, screwed it in. It wasn't that easy, but I'm gonna make it sound like it was that easy because this is YouTube and that's what you're supposed to do. And tightened it down with this same socket. And once it was tight, I decided to check it out. So at this point, I was kind of thinking that my O2 sensor was bad and that this wasn't really gonna help, but I wanted to try it anyway because I had the parts and it didn't cost me but like $9. So I went to the ECU because this is the only way I know how to reset this light on this car. And I unplugged the 3 plugs that go into the ECU, let it sit for a little bit, plugged them back in, and started the car. And the light was off, which is about, which is not any different, which was normal. Normally, if you reset the ECU, the light stays off for about 10 minutes, which is what the dealership did in order to sell us the car. I know, it's dirty, but that's what used car dealerships do. So I reset the light and let the car run. I let it idle for like 20 minutes, no light. I drove it around for a little while and then let it idle some more, still no light. So the light's gone, it's done, it's over. It fixed the problem, and it's like the cheapest fix ever. I went from a $600 fix to a $9 fix, and I'm all about that. So it's done. I'm super glad it's done. We actually sold the car. It's still in Alabama, so it's still legal. Like, it's all good. But the light's gone, and that's awesome because lights are annoying, especially check engine lights. They're just annoying. Nobody likes to see them, and this fixed it for us. So if you're having this problem and you live in a place that doesn't care about emissions, you should try this. That sounds ridiculous. Anyway, you should try this, see if it works. I hope it does. I hope this video helped you. If nothing else, it entertained you and let you learn a little bit about Alabama's lack of emission control. See ya.